Welcome to another edition of Game On with Alex Parr. Here we are at the end of our first week of Game On, and don't forget, if you missed any of the action from Game On, you'll find full episodes on SUOnline's YouTube channel. For today's show, Matt and I have a few discussions in studio where, firstly, we break down the trade that sent shockwaves through the hockey world, the Erik Karlsson trade. We also take a crack at talking about the Leafs' captaincy issue, or lack thereof. And of course, if you've been watching throughout the week, you're well aware of my football tour through the city, touching base with the coaches of each senior football team. Today's stop takes place at White Pines, where they refuse to let the numbers get to them and continue to persevere through the season. It's time to get started. Game On begins now. Welcome back to Game On, where we will be diving in a little bit deeper now into Karlsson. I feel like we almost jinxed it. Just the day before we talked about Karlsson on our show, he got traded the next day. So of course we're relying on Matt to fill us in a little bit more on the details. Now Matt, I'm going to ask you first. It seemed like Karlsson was almost heartbroken when he had to go address the media after the trade. But management insisted that it was a move that they needed to make. Can you see both sides of this? And I want to know a little bit about why management might have felt forced to make the trade.
Well, I felt that basically the management, they needed to give Karlsson a fresh start. And personally, I don't think he wanted to be traded completely because I think he was ready for another season in Ottawa because he wanted to help them make the playoffs. But I think he's looking forward to a fresh start in San Jose and a team that possibly might win the Cup this year. Because when you look at what Karlsson could do this year in San Jose, he's probably going to be paired up with Brett Burns, who had 67 points last season. So Karlsson, who had 62 last year for Ottawa, they just got 62 points more on the blue line for the season.
It'll make one deadly power play combination for sure. But how much did Erik Karlsson mean to Ottawa? The fans loved him. He loved them back. It almost seemed like he still wanted to stay there, even though they're going through a bit of a rocky patch between, girlfriend's remarks and Hoffman's whole situation. Why would he still want to stay there?
Well, that's the part that kind of ruins the hockey player right there, because when they have all this trouble with girlfriends or wives or off-ice issues like that, that's the stuff that could really wreck a star player. Because if you take away all that from Erik Karlsson, he's a great player, and apart from that, that's what kind of hurt him too in Ottawa. It was all the off-ice issues that happened. But no, Erik Karlsson, I think that the fans are definitely going to miss him deeply because he was the face of that franchise for a long time. Not just him, though. Even when Alfredsson was there and Spezza before they moved out of Ottawa, no, Erik Karlsson, he was probably the heart and soul of that team.
Absolutely, and I know you'll definitely know, but the trade that involved Matt Duchene going to the Senators had to give up their first-round pick. They decided that they were going to draft Tkachuk this year and give up the chance at having him having a first-round pick this upcoming draft. Without Karlsson, it looks like they're going to be at the very, very bottom of the league. Are they basically just handing over the first overall pick to Colorado now?
Well, I think so, because I think that, Ottawa right now, they're going to be in a rebuilding mode, and they think that, just having Erik Karlsson on the team, sure, he wanted to help this team make the playoffs for the upcoming season, but the thing is, if they're just going to have Erik Karlsson and, not make the playoffs, might as well start fresh and, trade him, and look what happened. I guess that, they would get a couple prospects for him, a couple high draft choices, and a couple young players, and that's what happened in the trade just yesterday. They basically got that in return. Chris Tenneri, he just had his best season last year with the San Jose Sharks, and Dylan DeMello, who's a stay-at-home defenseman, and he's going to be good for the upcoming years in Ottawa. He's not the type of defenseman that Erik Karlsson is, though.
Right.
But they need a stay-at-home defenseman, and with the first-round pick and the second-round pick, no, they're going to use those draft choices to for a rebuilding mode.
The draft picks are going to come, I would presume, late, barring a catastrophe from San Jose. San Jose is now building up, and they're looking like they're going to be contending for the Cup. Do you think, even with that first and second round pick, with the prospects that were ranked third and fourth, they weren't even the top two prospects from San Jose, do you think it was enough of a return for Karlsson?
At this point, I'd say, like, you know, the players were enough, but I think that maybe they could use a few more draft picks, like, you know, in order to make their team better. Because, you know, by trading away Karlsson, they just got a lot younger. They're not looking like a playoff team this year, but I think that, like, you know, the more trades they make in order to get, like, draft picks, like, you know, maybe a few more veterans, then they'll start getting a few more picks in return. But with Matt Duchene there, if they could build around him, then Ottawa is easily going to be a playoff team again. But no, with Chris Ternary now in Ottawa up front, no, I think that's definitely going to help out with the offense.
And if you had to pick a winner for the trade, who would you say won, Ottawa or the Sharks?
Oh, definitely the Sharks, because look who they just got, Erik Karlsson, and up front they got Joel Thornton. Like, you know, like a lot of people are thinking, is this guy going to retire? He's not. He just signed a one-year contract with them on his birthday
and why would
in the
you
summer.
even retire once you realize Erik Karlsson's there, right?
Exactly, because Joel Thornton, like, he's still growing the beard, and he's
Beautiful
not.
beard.
And I don't know, like, you know, we all know that the Greyhounds are going to retire his number when he retires from the NHL, and I'm sure when the Greyhounds retire Joel Thornton's number, he's going to come to the GFL Memorial Gardens with that beard, and you're going to see all the fans in one section dressed in the Fear the Beard costume. So I'm sure that, you know, Joel Thornton is happy that Karlsson is joining the team, and that gives Joel Thornton a chance to win his first ever Stanley Cup.
And we'll be rooting for him as he does have the suit ties, as Matt was saying. But stay with Game On, because right after the break, you'll be seeing my football tour around the city continue on, where I stop and speak with Coach John of the White Pines Wolverines. Don't go anywhere. Game On's coming right back. Earlier in the week, I swung by the White Pines practice field to see what Coach John and his troops have been up to. With by far the smallest roster at 20 players, the team has some work to do, a challenge the coaching staff is not worried about.
And one thing I want to talk to you about very first is the perseverance your team has. Only being able to field 20 guys and still seeing these guys out of practice every day must speak volumes to the character that they have, correct?
Absolutely, and we were worried that it would be a little bit of a disheartening performance last week. But we've come out this week, and even the drills that we've done, the players seem really committed to getting better. They seem anxious to put everything they have into it. There's no quit in these guys, and it's very encouraging for the future.
And one thing I always like to ask the coaches too is you guys will want to instill a lot of mindsets for these players in football, but not only for football, but something they can take with them the rest of their life. What kind of characteristics do you like to really instill with your players?
We want them to learn that football is a mirror image of what you're going to face in life. So whether it be an employer that maybe you don't necessarily like the way they do things, an educational professional, anything like that, there might be situations where you don't like the way things are being done, you don't understand the process, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that decide how it's graded, so you just have to do it until it's your turn to lead the way. And we do want them to be good leaders one day, but we want them to be good followers first, and that's really one of the main characteristics you learn in football, and just hard work and perseverance, even if things aren't going well. And obviously with our team, there's a lot of work to be done, so that's a lesson we're going to get a lot of opportunities to teach them.
And with the mindset some people may have about the team, you know, only being able to field 20 people, seeing the score of the last game, what would the message be for people that think that about this Pines team?
The reality is half our team has barely ever played football before. So our first 2 weeks of this training camp was to just get enough plays in where we could field the team and run the plays that we need to be in the game. Now we're getting back to the fundamentals, because for this being a senior team, there's a lot of fundamentals that are missing. So just getting back to proper tackling, how to recognize what's going on in front of you, things that a lot of teams have already when they get to the senior level. We're really starting from scratch, but that gives us a lot of optimism. It means that throughout the season, our team is without a doubt going to get better, just based on the fact that they started really from scratch, and we're going to build it up from there.
And if there are people on your team, there's definitely going to be some standouts. I know you're not going to want to shed too much light on one player, not on another, but who are some players that maybe aren't getting the recognition from the league that they should be? Some people may be being slept on.
Well, one that we definitely were impressed with is Cole McBain. He came up. There was some speculation as to whether he'd be eligible for senior this year, but he's actually only eligible for senior. He had one practice with us before our last game. He stepped in and played a very composed game. So we're excited for him. He'll be competing for the quarterback spot and possibly some other athletic positions. Another one is our linebacker and tight end, Donovan Busno. He didn't play Sabercats or anything like that, but he's one of our leaders on this team nonetheless, and I think that this is going to be a year for him to step up and get some recognition.
And what is the message to your guys coming into this next game going up against Superior Heights?
Our message is real simple. We're going to make things as simple as it can be for you, and we're just asking you to remember the fundamentals that we're teaching week to week and get better every play. Every big play that we make is going to be a reason to celebrate, and the closer we are to winning, the more optimism we have, and hopefully that ability to win becomes more and more realistic as the season goes on.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
And welcome back to Game On, where we have another discussion lined up for the day, captaincy. As you saw in the news reads, captaincy is quite a big deal going through the league, but when it comes to the Leafs, people want to blow it out of proportion, tenfold more than they would any other team, of course. But Matt, let's first off and start talking with how important is being a captain to a player on a team?
Oh, being a captain means everything because, you know, you're in charge of the team is looking up to you, you're the one that has to set the examples. And if they don't have a good captain, then the team chemistry is not going to be good. So that's why wearing the C, like, you know, you got to play for your team and be a good leader.
And the narrative once John Tavares was signed to the Leafs was, who's going to be the captain? Is it going to be John Tavares or is it going to be Austin Matthews? Oh, is this guy going to be mad if this guy's the captain or vice versa? But now the media's spoken to Babcock. Babcock's said, I want Riley, Marleau, and Tavares, of course, being the alternate captains going into the season. Matthews doesn't have an A going into the season. Does that ring any bells? Are you setting the panic button? Is the alarm going off for you with that? Or do you think it's just a time kind of thing?
I think it's just a time kind of thing because when you look at Austin Matthews, he's just coming off his second year in the NHL. Is he a star player already? Absolutely. But the thing is, they're just going age-wise because John Tavares, he's been in the NHL for 9 seasons, and he's led the New York Islanders in scoring 7 out of those 9 seasons. He was their team captain, so I think that, like, you know, they want to give Matthews some time because they know, like, you know, he's young and, you know, sometimes when you're young and you got to wear the C at that age, like, it might take away from his scoring.
I mean, look at Toronto as well. They're a media bunch that will tear you to shreds. Look at what happened to Dion Phaneuf. He basically got run out of town because people said he wasn't a fit captain, he wasn't a good fit on the team. And to try to put that pressure on somebody that's so young, I feel is really unnecessary. So I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Do we think Tavares, Marleau, and Nylander are the right choices to be wearing the A's in the season, or would you have picked somebody else?
Well, I agree that, you know, Tavares and Marleau should be wearing the A's because they've been in the NHL for a long time. Like Patrick Marleau, he's played his whole career with San Jose before coming to the Leafs, so he definitely deserves to be an assistant captain.
Where he was captain, too. Tavares was as well for his team.
I know, but that's the thing, though. Like, now that he's in Toronto, he's fighting for captaincy. So because, like, you know, they basically have San Jose's former captain, and now that Tavares is on the team, he used to be captain of the New York Islanders. So that's why instead of, like, you know, making one player the head captain, they just decide to have a couple of captains. But the thing that kind of surprises me is they gave William Nylander, who just completed his 2nd season with the Leafs, he's wearing the A over Austin Matthews.
It's actually Morgan Riley wearing the
Morgan
A.
Riley,
right.
Yeah, but no, sorry, not Nylander, Riley. But
right.
The thing is, Morgan Riley, he's the youngest player of all those guys, so that's a bit of a surprise right there.
The only thing that I can kind of agree with when they gave Morgan Riley the A is that he's somebody that they've drafted and developed, and he's been on that team for a while. Usually, I don't know if it's just something I've noticed, but I think teams usually like to give the letters out to defensemen, players that are on the ice a little bit more, players that can kind of communicate with the ref and stuff like that. So I've never really had a problem with Riley being the assistant. Do you think there could be somebody on the team that could be better suited than Riley?
No, at this point, I think that Riley's the best choice because, you know, he's been with Toronto long enough. And again, like, he's still young, but again, they don't want to take anything away from, you know, the young guys like Austin Matthews, William Nylander. But the thing is, like, you know, Nazem Kadri, he's been there for a long time,
exactly,
too. And
drafted and developed by the team, just like Riley has.
Exactly, and he's been one of their top scorers year in and year out. And when you look at Nazem Kadri, I mean, like, it's kind of surprising that he's not wearing the A either. But maybe, like, you know, he may know how to put up the numbers, but maybe he's just not assistant captain or captain material for all the years he's been there. So.
And when it breaks down to all of this nitpicking, who should be captain, who shouldn't be captain, do you think the players are really concerned, or do you think they just want to get out there on their skates and start playing hockey?
Well, I think all the players just want to go there and start playing hockey. Like, you know, and they're the ones who basically vote on a team captain. But the
Right.
thing is, they don't want to take anything away from another player, because now when you look at the Leafs roster for the upcoming season, so sure, they have 3 players that are wearing the A, and none of them are wearing the C, but all, like, you know, 2 of those players, Patrick Marleau and the other one being John Tavares, they know what it's like to be a captain. So they basically have 2 captains, but they're just not wearing the C on their chest.
Exactly. Well, Matt, if you could give me one word to describe the feelings on the Leaf season going in this year, what would it be?
I think that they're definitely going to make the playoffs this year. We all know that. And by getting John Tavares on their team, the fans are excited, the town is excited, and they do have Stanley Cup fever. But I think they need a little bit more to be Stanley Cup contenders, because sure, John Tavares, he's going to look good there with, like, you know, Nazem Kadri, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and, you know, Patrick Marleau. But the thing is, like, Toronto's going to need more, because this past Canada Day was very exciting when they signed John Tavares, but again, they lost James Van Riemsdyk, they lost Leo Komarov, and they lost Tyler Bozak, so they got a little bit younger too up front. So I think they need to make a couple more moves to be serious Stanley Cup contenders for the upcoming season.
Very true. One long, one-word answer there from Matt Stefano. But for Matt and I thank you so much for watching Game On, and stay tuned. More after this. And we did it. Get the party blowers and the hats out. It's time to celebrate. Our first full week of Game On is in the books. We have plenty more in the works for the coming weeks, and if you tune in next week, you'll get to see me take a crack at jiu-jitsu for the first time, which may or may not have went as well for myself. And as always, Game On comes to you at 8:30 p.m. Tuesday to Friday night right here on ONNtv, and full episodes are also available on YouTube. All of us here at ONNtv thank you for your viewership, and we will see you again Tuesday. Good night, everybody. Well, if you made it this far in an episode of Game On, you won't mind the shameless plugs. You gotta like, you gotta share, and of course you have to subscribe to Sue Online and ONNtv. But if you don't want to do all that, we'll get you another way. We'll get you to watch some more Game On by clicking right here. You're gonna click? I don't have all day. This video is gonna end at some point. Okay, I mean, I don't know how much longer you want to hang out with me. The video is over. You can continue to watch, or we could do this all day. What do I have to do? Click the video. There's nothing else. The video is over.